Yeah, President Trump wants to appoint the guy who manipulates gold and silver in order to keep the fiat dollar or the Federal Reserve note looking good. He wants to appoint that guy as as the head of the Treasury of your country. It doesn't sound kosher to me, that's for sure. Monday, July 22nd, 2023, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Before I start today, just like to say that I have no political affiliation. I'm in the UK. I don't have one here either, nor in the US. So, yes, don't tune off just because of what I'm going to talk about. And what is that? Well, we're going to look at whether Wall Street can really help potential President Trump make America great again. Can they really help the Trump administration get the economy going again, get the debt down? Well, I'm not too sure. And one of the reasons why I'm not too sure is because of this. And I tweeted this out or posted on X a few days ago, a couple of days ago, that is. And I said, the reason Wall Street and 99.9% of politicians hate gold and silver coinage or sound money, which is part of the Constitution, that's constitutional money in the United States. Well, the reason is that they make the holder immune from confiscation via inflation and negate the need for the holder to put their depreciating fiat savings at risk in the markets. And I said at the end, any digital asset will be at risk, even a Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies. So, President or former President Trump talks about that when he left office, they had the greatest economy, or prior to the pandemic, ever. And I'm not too sure about that because the U.S. Treasury was running a 5% budget deficit. If you have the greatest economy ever, you're not running a deficit, you're running a surplus, you're paying down debt. Of course, that wasn't happening. What was happening was that the credit spigot was still open. Rates were still very low. The Federal Reserve has started doing QE again, even though they were doing QT. They started doing QE again when Wall Street was in trouble again with the repo crisis. Wall Street was going to go under again in September of 2019, and the Fed came to the rescue and started doing QE again. And then a few months later, with the help of BlackRock and Larry Fink, they did something very different. They went direct. And that was the strategy that was pushed by BlackRock at the Jackson Hole Symposium back in the late summer of 2019, before the repo crisis kicked off. And what is going direct? Well, it's the Fed pushing or giving the reserves directly to firms like BlackRock so they could go and buy financial assets. That had never happened. And I would argue that it was this policy that has created the rising prices of the last few years, and it's going to continue to do so. I listened a little bit to President or former President Trump's speech at the RNC some days ago, and he's got everything for everyone. He's going to deregulate, he's going to cut taxes, he's going to keep the entitlements for the general public sacrosanct. and he thinks he can grow the economy and bring down inflation. Well, I don't think we're going to see that. I think his policy is that if he can grow the economy well enough, that it will write off the debt in terms of as percentage of GDP. But in our current fiat currency system, there's no way that if you pay down the debt in real terms, if you run budget surpluses, the economy will fall into a deep depression for many, many years. So that's what it's about. He's not going to pay off the debt. He's going to make it look smaller because he thinks he can grow GDP. And where does real GDP, where does Wall Street come in? Well, it seems to me that the advisors to President Trump still think that this trickle-down idea works, that if you let Wall Street and the big corporations profit massively, that all that wealth will flow down to the general public. But we've seen, and I've spoken about this, the wealth inequality we've had since 1987 when Alan Greenspan, the former chairman of the Federal Reserve, instituted the Wall Street put. What's the Wall Street put? Well, it's to always bail out Wall Street via the Federal Reserve and via you, the taxpayer. How do you do that? Well, by inflating, by the government borrowing even more, and the Federal Reserve creating trillions in reserves to keep interest rates low. And maybe you don't have a short memory, but President Trump was not happy with Jay Powell when he started raising rates, and he wanted him to cut them back to zero. So one thing's for sure, the dollar is going to be trashed like it's been trashed since, I would say, 1971, or you could even argue it could go back further since FDR, when FDR took the United States off sound money in 1933. So why do I think Wall Street is going to be employed by Trump? Well, there's a lot of stories. One of them is to do with Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan. JP Morgan is the biggest shareholder in the New York Federal Reserve. Yes, the New York Federal Reserve is a private corporation. It's only the Board of Governors of this Federal Reserve, which is based in Washington, D.C., that is a government agency. And even then, Greenspan has said before that it's a government agency that is independent, i.e., there's not much Congress can do to really regulate and audit the Federal Reserve because they're independent. You probably remember some years ago after the '08 crisis, there was a Congressman Grayson, I think his name was, and he was asking Bernanke where the billions or trillions of dollars that they lent to foreign institutions, who were these institutions? And Greenspan just said, no, I can't tell you. So that's how powerful the Federal Reserve is. But if you look at the New York Post here, from Charlie Gasparino, and he used to work for, I think, CNBC many moons ago. And I remember him criticizing TARP back in, when was it, 2008-9, that it was going to increase the debt massively, that it was the wrong way, and he lost his job. But I see he's writing for the New York Post. Now he says Trump's odd and interesting relationship with the money manager who has his ear. So it talks about how he's in very close contact with Larry Fink, and he also talks about Jamie Dimon here. So I'll read it quickly for you, and I'm going to put a link to this article below in the description. You might want to read the whole thing. According to the old cliche, opposites attract, and there may be no greater example of this than the odd interesting, and for the country, a beneficial relationship between Larry Fink and Donald Trump. Yes, you read that right, Fink and Trump. A match made in heaven? No, to be more precise, made on Wall Street with the uber globalist BlackRock chief ESG of ESG fame, right? ESG is environment, social, and governmance. And this is something that was really built up from the City of London about, I would say, 6-7 years ago. They started pushing this ESG. They've pushed it across the Atlantic. Of course, these uber globalists like Larry Fink, BlackRock, they don't really have their interest is not the general public and making the public wealthy. Their interest is lining up their pockets, Wall Street. But anyway, ESG fame, once serving as Trump's money manager and the GOP populist former president, and according to polling, likely to be future president, still seeking out Fink for insights into the economy, the Post has learned. Sure, Trump likes to tout JP Morgan super banker CEO Jamie Dimon as a possible Treasury Secretary, but it's really Fink whom he likes, respects, and speaks with, I am told. The feeling is mutual, and it's a relationship I explain in my upcoming book, Go Woke, Go Broke. So I'm going to stop here. And it's interesting that Trump, in his speech at the RNC, said they're going to get out of the green news scam. They're going to get out of COP, the net zero treaty, the Paris Treaty. And then you have someone like Larry Fink, who's on the steering committee, or he's on the board actually, of the World Economic Forum, who pushes this climate agenda. You've got Jamie Dimon, who's been considered as Secretary of the Treasury. Talk about the fox guarding the hen house, I would say. Who bailed out Wall Street in 2008 and 9? Well, it was you, the taxpayer. And who benefited? Well, it was Jamie Dimon, the Goldman Sachses of the world, the Larry Finks. And nothing's trickled down. If anything, everything's gotten worse for the bottom 90%. And the top 1% and the top 0.1% have made out like bandits. And I'm not saying we have to redistribute wealth here. And you probably already know what my idea is on this channel. My idea is to have a sound money system, or the Constitution says what money should be, gold and silver coin, and it doesn't even have to be coin minted in the US, any gold and silver. And if you don't believe me, Google and look up the Legal Tender Act. I think it was 1864. Prior to that, coins from all over the world were accepted and circulated in the US. I think the Spanish dollar was still circulating, and it was good for settling debt. There was no legal tender law because gold and silver are money, and they don't need to be, the government doesn't need to say by fiat that they're money. So that's how I see it. And the other thing that's really important, that I wouldn't hold my breath for this to happen, is for the abolition, liquidation of the central bank, of the Federal Reserve. Because as I've spoken many times, the central bank is not federal. It doesn't have any reserves. It's there to as an instrument for Wall Street to basically make sure that when they get in trouble, They can socialize their losses. When they don't get in trouble, they privatize their gains, and you don't get anything. And that's why wealth inequality is so huge. So to me, it's suspicious that candidate Trump is aligning himself with Wall Street, and especially people like Larry Fink and CEO of JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon. And here I've got JP Morgan Chase selected legal, regulatory, and enforcement settlements 2002 to 2019. Yes, Jamie Dimon became CEO in 2006, but it's only 4 years that he missed out here. But this is from the Solari report, and it's got the list of all the fines and settlements JP Morgan paid in those years, and I'm sure there's more since 2019. And I actually added it up, and it totals $43.771 billion, as you can see here, of fines. So that's why I'm asking you the question, will Wall Street really be helping make America great again? And what do I see as America being great again? Well, I see the America prior to 1913, where the federal government was small, where there was no income tax, where the money was sound, where there's no, as I said, central bank, no IRS. And for some reason, I don't think that's going to happen. Let's just quickly look at where we are this morning in terms of the markets. It's almost 8:30 a.m. London time. So yes, gold is at 2404. It's up about $3. It settled just around 2400 on Friday. The high was 12, and the low overnight has been 23.98. So yeah, President Trump wants to appoint the guy who manipulates gold and silver in order to keep the fiat dollar, or the Federal Reserve note, looking good. He wants to appoint that guy as the head of the Treasury of your country. It doesn't sound kosher to me, that's for sure. Spot silver is under pressure. It's at 29.02, down 18 cents. The low's been 28.90, and the high's been 29.44. The Dow futures up 28 points. The NASDAQ is up 83. S&P is up 13. To the currencies, they're pretty steady this morning. Dollar is down about 0.2% though versus the yen at 156.50. The commodities, we're seeing, oil has come off a bit in the last few days. We're now back below 80. WTI crude is at 78.93, and Brent is at 82.20. And high-grade copper also is coming off. We're at 422, down 0.2%. What about treasury yields? And these as well, I expect the long end to suffer a lot, because I think we're going to see a lot of rate cuts next year. And I think Trump is going to win, and they're going to cut rates. And what that's going to do, it's not going to help the longer end. And by that I mean, short-term rates are going to go down because the Fed can control that much more easily. But the longer end, that's going to go through the roof, I think, because investors, they're not going to, they will smell the inflation. But anyway, right now, the 10-year yield is down 3 basis points at 4.2. And with that, I'm going to wish you all a great start to the week and a very good day. Take care. Bye.